Welcome back, everyone, to episode 7 of our French Revolution series called Révolution. The French Revolution had started with hope. A new constitution was in the making. The king was still wearing his crown, and many believed the storm had passed. But in June 1791, the illusions shattered. When King Louis XVI and his family attempted to flee Paris, the fragile trust between monarch and people collapsed just overnight. What followed was just a political scandal. It was a national awakening. The escape attempt and its bloody aftermath would not only expose the deep cracks in revolutionary France, but push the people to consider a future they had once feared to imagine, a future without a king. The honeymoon between the people and their king was over, but few would have predicted just how fast the relationship would unravel. Let's delve deep into this episode. So many things will happen. In the early summer of 1791, the French Revolution stood at a crossroads. The National Assembly was hard at work drafting a new constitution. The royal family remained under constant watch at the Tuileries Palace, and across Paris, the streets still buzzed with debate over the future of the monarchy. But everything changed overnight. In June, Parisians awoke to stunning news. The king had fled. At first, few details were known, but as the day unfolded, the full story came to light. King Louis XVI, along with Queen Marie Antoinette and their children, had fled the Tuileries Palace, and under the cover of the night, they attempted to escape Paris and join forces with the exiled nobles and other foreign allies. The news sent shockwaves through the city. What had begun as a startling disappearance now revealed itself as an act of open defiance against the revolution. On the night of June 20th to 21st, 1791, the royal family made their escape. Their plan relied on careful disguises. The children's governess, the Marquise de Tourzel, assumed the identity of Madame d'Erkoff, a fictional Russian noblewoman. Marie Antoinette posed as her lady-in-waiting, while the royal children and their attendants took on roles as members of the noblewoman's household. King Louis XVI disguised himself as a servant. But the plan, despite its layers of deception, had a fatal flaw. The royal family chose to travel in a large, heavy carriage, one built for comfort, not for stealth. Its sheer size slowed their pace, and its lavish design attracted the very attention they were trying to avoid. It was a choice more fitting for a royal procession than for a secret escape. Along the route, the king's well-known face and awkward attempts at playing the part of a servant raised more suspicion. The disguise failed to mask their true identities. In the town of Saint-Ménehould, the local postmasters, Jean-Baptiste Drouet, spotted the king and immediately recognized him from his portrait, printed on the assignats, the paper currency of revolutionary France. Drouet quickly alerted the authorities. By the time the royal carriage reached Varennes, the escape was over. The National Guardsmen were waiting. Louis, frozen by indecision, made no real attempt to resist. The guards took control and escorted the royal family back to Paris. As their carriage rolled through the city, the crowd met them with cold silence. For many Parisians, the king's attempted flight was more than a political crisis. It was a personal betrayal. The failed flight to Varennes shattered what little trust remained between Louis and his subjects. The escape confirmed for many that the king had no intention of honoring the new constitutional order. His loyalty, it seemed, lay only with his crown. The news spread quickly, sending shockwaves across France, and with it came a flood of rumors. Whispers claimed the escape had been planned for months, not just by the royal family, but with the secret approval of deputies inside the National Assembly. Men who had once sworn to defend the revolution were now believed to have sold it out for power and royal favor. Whether or not the conspiracy was as wide as the people believed, one thing was clear: trust in the assembly vanished overnight. The rift between the people and their king grew deeper. Hopes for a peaceful and stable resolution to the revolution quickly began to fade. Political clubs played a growing role in shaping public opinion. These clubs, once informal discussion groups, became engines of revolutionary thought. The most radical was the Cordeliers Club, known for championing direct democracy, social equality, and the rights of ordinary citizens, especially the poor and working class. Another influential club was the Jacobin Club. At first, the Jacobin Club included moderates and reformers who supported a constitutional monarchy. But as the revolution grew more extreme, the Jacobins became more known for pushing republicanism, equality, and popular sovereignty, and later, under leaders like Maximilien Robespierre, for endorsing the use of terror to protect the revolution. While the Jacobins debated law and policy at a more theoretical level, the Cordeliers were rooted in popular activism and often pushed the revolution toward more extreme demands, including the abolition of the monarchy and universal male suffrage. When the Cordeliers Club demanded the king abdication, the wheels of conflict began turning faster. What started as calls for reform had now become a fight over the very future of the nation. Could France move forward with a monarch, or was it time to imagine a world without a king? One of the loudest voices in this new debate was Georges-Jacques Danton, a rising leader in the Cordeliers Club. He argued that the idea of a constitutional monarchy was nothing more than just a hollow promise. For the revolution to succeed, it was the people, not a king, who must guide France's future. The time had come to consider a republic. Events soon took a deadly turn. On July 17, 1791, thousands of Parisians gathered at Champ de Mars to sign a petition demanding the king's abdication following the failed escape. The atmosphere was tense. The Paris Commune at the National Assembly, fearing unrest, declared martial law and raised the red flag, the signal for state-sanctioned repression. General Lafayette, still committed to preserving a constitutional monarchy, led the National Guard to the scene. When the crowd refused to disperse, Lafayette gave the order to fire. The National Guard opened fire on unarmed demonstrators, killing at least 50 people, including a woman and a child. Hundreds more were injured. The Champ de Mars massacre was a turning point. The divide between constitutional monarchists and radical republicans had become too wide to bridge. Many Parisians, once willing to compromise, now believed that the monarchy could only survive through force, and that for the revolution to move forward, the king had to go. 2 years after the fall of the Bastille, the National Guard, acting under orders from Lafayette, had turned their weapons on the very citizens they were sworn to protect. The shock and outrage that followed would reshape the revolution. July 17, 1791 became a date forever marked by bloodshed and betrayal. It left many with the grim realization that the struggle for France's future was only just beginning. The events of the summer of 1791 marked a point of no return. The king's failed flight and the massacre at the Champ de Mars transformed the revolution from a political movement into a social reckoning. The dream of a constitutional monarchy lay in ruins, and with it, a new, more radical force was about to take the center stage, one that would reshape not only France, but the entire world. The revolution was only just beginning. Well, I really hope you're enjoying this series so far, and episode 7, and as always, I will see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.